Hello and welcome to Fyrside Chats, conversations that inspire innovation. Fyrside Chats is a series of conversations with startup founders and enablers, leaders in business, government, and the startup ecosystem, and industry players in Western Visayas that push for innovative ideas that impact communities. This series is an initiative of FyrLab, an Iloilo-based startup acceleration program funded by the Department of Science and Technology Region 6 and run by the Youth First Initiative Philippines Incorporated with support from UMWAD Western Visayas, a regional consortium of startup enablers, and the Innovate Iloilo movement. Esports, or what many of us would easily identify as PC and mobile gaming, was officially recognized by the Philippine government as a legitimate sport in 2017. And we are seeing now that Filipinos are really excellent at it. Proof includes the gold medal wins of Philippine esports teams in the recently concluded Hanoi Southeast Asian Games. With that said, we want to know how is esports in Iloilo and Western Visayas, and what innovative opportunities does this endeavor present to Ilonggos and Filipinos. To discuss all that with us is Jamar Montehermoso, CEO of ILO Esports organization. Hello, Jamar.
Hi, Sir Daryl.
Mayang hapon.
Mayang hapon.
Sir, yun ba? So, first things first, kumusta ka?
Aside from this rainy heat, according to Pag-asa, we're in the rainy season, pero ang init tagit.
Yeah, I agree.
But alongside this heat, the esports scene here in Iloilo is getting hotter as well. The esports climate is getting competitive, and actually we're on our week 8 of the ongoing quarter 2 events that we're having right now.
I see, grabe very active ang aton nga esports community here, no? So, but for the benefit of our audience na hindi pa masyado makakilala sa imo and your organization, so tell us a little bit more about you and your organization, what you do, and how you got into esports.
Yeah, so to everyone, I'm Jamar Montehermoso. I created ILO Esports, and it is actually the first and only government-backed SEC-registered esports organization worldwide. So, amugid ni ang pinakaunang esports organization nga nagpartner with its local government unit. Because right now, all esports organizations are privately owned. And esports itself is a billion-dollar industry. And the idea came to me when I thought nga wala sang government or public entity nga nag-take a bite out of this billion-dollar industry. So there's an opportunity, especially here in Iloilo, where we have at least, where we have a lot of esports enthusiasts and gamers. So as I said earlier, week 8 na kami sa amon nga events, and just this Sunday we had at least 500 participants nga naghahampang sa Festive Walk Mall where we're conducting our activities.
Are these activities face to face?
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
some even last year when it was the height of the pandemic, we're doing online events. Where we communicate through our Facebook page and our online platforms like in Discord and Facebook groups. And after the lowering of the status, the stage sa COVID restriction here in Iloilo, and when they approved that face-to-face events are good to go, then that's when we decided to go nga mag-umpisa liwat with the face-to-face events. So I think it was this April when we started the face-to-face ILO Esports tournaments. We started with our second season of Mobile Legends Season 2. Since ang amon nga Season 1 was all online. So it was a 4-month affair. So this time sa amon nga second season, gina-focus namon nga makahatag kami face-to-face experience para sa mga esports enthusiasts diri sa Iloilo.
Okay. All right. So we can further discuss in detail ang mga events niyo later on, and maybe you can invite people to participate or watch your events, no? So but we're also interested how you personally got into esports. Were you always a player? Were you always an enthusiast? What's the deal?
So Yeah, actually, I love playing games. When I was still in my elementary, I'm actually one of the top in our computer class. Not because of probably I think it's because of my love with computers and um, even when I went to high school, my group of friends would often invite me to play games like Dota, which is Defense of the Asians. It's a MOBA. It's multiplayer. Multiplayer. Wait lang. Multiplayer online battle arena. Sorry, I forgot the meaning of it. But yeah, it means that there's two teams competing to destroy the base of the other team. So it's a social game where you invite your friends, kumbitaran ka mo, and the level of competition is definitely something nga mambal mga ma-reach na ganyang level nga makahawat-hawat kay you're all sitting there but you can definitely check nga kung sino ang leading and ang level of competition I mean is something nga ma-experience mo agad bisan ka pong ko lang.
Yeah, exciting, no? And then you also get to interact with the other players.
That's right.
Bisan nga wala sila they may not necessarily be like next to you, playing the game. So you mentioned about MOBA, and my next question is for the benefit also of those who would want to understand esports better. So when you say esports, so we could like easily identify that as PC and mobile gaming, no? So is that correct reference to the esports in general, and what does it cover?
Yeah, to put it simply, esports technically means just electronic sports. So any video games or games played competitively through computers, mobiles, or other platforms like PlayStation or Xbox is considered an esport. But not all games can be an esport, but some games can be a competitive sporting spectator event. So some of the popular and hot ones right now are League of Legends, Dota 2, CSGO, Fortnite, and here in the Philippines specifically ang pinakadako gid and diri sa Iloilo is Mobile Legends. We did a survey actually sa Moon community. And there is sa Iloilo, Mobile Legends got around 40% player base. Next is the League of Legends Wild Rift, which had around 27, 26. Next was Valorant, which had 21 to 20%. And the rest are mobile games as well. So mobile gaming definitely leveled up the accessibility of players to become esport players or even casual gamers lang. So right now amo na ang do pinaka gid diri sa Iloilo is that damo nagahampang, especially with the pandemic. The number of players having definitely increased, and even after the pandemic, communities are made, and that's also one of the reasons man nga nabuo ang ILO Esports.
So for you to be able to say that you are participating in esports, you have to participate or you have to join the competitive games.
That's right. So para
how are these defined? Whether locally or in the national or international arena, what's the demarcation? What's the what's the line in the sand between competitive games and the ones for casual gamers?
Yeah, so kung casual gamer ka, we don't necessarily need to compete with others. So that's the distinction between the two. So if you're competing, technically you're into esports, because esports is about competing with other gamers like yourself using the same game, and it only goes from there kasi though there are different stages. So you might be competing at a local level, you might be competing in a pro level. So what do you mean by pro? So like what we have in traditional sports wherein there are professional players who get to play in major league events, for example, NCAA, NBA, PBA. So these are players that get paid and to become athletes. So right now that's trend. That's a trend in esports wherein we have professional esports players where they have salaries and there's a whole industry that revolves around it.
All right, let's see. So let's go to your organization, ILO Esports. So tell us more about it. What is ILO Esports? What does it do? And as Chief Executive Officer of the organization, what is your role in ILO Esports?
So, as I mentioned earlier, it's the only government-backed esports organization. So, paano namon nahambal nga government-backed? I actually wrote an executive order, the draft for the executive order for the creation of an esports council to be launched here in Iloilo. So, that council, I prepared that, I wrote that executive order to pursue the initiative of making Iloilo an esports hub here in the Philippines. I then created a roadmap para sundon sang members ng council, which is I'm the vice chairman of, para ubrahon ng Iloilo nga isa ka esports hub here in the Philippines and hopefully ma-consider as an esports capital. So all of the esports efforts right now are collectively centered in NCR. So outside NCR, there are tournaments here and there, but aside from that, there is no entity or no backing to really support the growth of an esports industry. So that's what we're pushing for ILO Esports and for the Iloilo City Esports Committee. And so ILO Esports will then act on behalf of the committee to conduct the local tournaments, workshops, and other esports-related activities. So speaking of tournaments, we had the Charter Day Esports Festival last year, the Mobile Legends Bang Bang League Season 1 last year, and right now, we're conducting tournaments for Mobile Legends, Wild Rift, and Valorant. For workshops naman, sang first quarter, we did a shoutcasting workshop with Santi. He's the first Ilonggo and the youngest shoutcaster sa MPL, which is the PBA equivalent sa Mobile Legends diri sa aton. So that's something big in the esports industry, particularly sa Mobile Legends diri sa Pilipinas, and big for us Ilonggos to have our for us to be represented in the national stage. And aside from that, we also had the gold medal. We also had the gold medalist sa recent nga Hanoi SEA Games, which is Angel Lozada, who was playing under Grind Sky Eris. Sila ang sa League of Legends Wild Rift team naton, and they won gold medal. I think they only dropped one game during the whole the whole SEA Games. So that's how strong and that's how I believe nga damo pa potential diri sa Iloilo and outside NCR sa mga gamers naton.
All right. Okay, thank you for all those details. No? So you may discuss it further later on, and proof gid siya nga very active ang aton nga esports community here in Iloilo, and thanks to ILO Esports for facilitating all these opportunities for them. No? So we want to get into the cultural surrounding around esports. No? So I remember back when I was in school, ako personally, while never gid ko nahilig sa mobile or PC gaming because they carried a stigma that they are, bad for anyone who wants to be serious in school or wants to get high grades, etc. And then at that time, ang sa palibot ko, ang nagahampang sang PC games mostly, mga students man nga hindi masiling nato hindi bala daga-excel academically, no? So and then nag high school na and nag college na, so I I've always been like turned off sa PC and mobile gaming. Sa gaming, like computer gaming in general, no? So, but I used to play like Pac-Man. That's I think that's I think the most that I had, the most involvement that I had with mobile game with PC and mobile gaming. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, no, na may amo na nga experience, or at least may amo na nga surrounding, or na expose amo na nga culture, no, nga uh, PC and mobile gaming is actually bad for you, something like that. So if that carry the stigma, is that a valid situation, or is that a valid experience for people like me? And why do you think that has become pervasive? Because it did not just last when I was in primary school or high school mo. And what is ILO Esports doing in response to or addressing that stigma?
Yeah, 100%. Tuod gina kag isa man ako sa mga nahambalan nga kaka-computer mo yan.
Yes.
So it's something that our parents or our guardians tell us nga kung masubara na to sa gaming law. And they associate it with negative things happening, like kung magkasakit ka o kaka-computer mo yan, if you fail your grades, kaka-computer mo yan.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's evidently right as well. And I agree with the consensus that anything in excess will definitely be negative to anyone. Mapa esports man, mapa gaming man, mapa traditional sports man. And right now for ILO Esports, we'll be doing school tours later this year to really hopefully change that kind of mindset. And we're actually in partnership with the Youth and Sports Office of the city government. And we actually had a talk. We actually had a plan to conduct a talk sa Molo last year, but unfortunately, nag-increase naman ang cases. And it was actually about this same topic. But aside from that, there's a shift in that mindset, especially with Accelerator right now, on what they're doing with collegiate esports events. So Accelerator is actually an Ilonggos startup. They got seed funded around $3 million last year, and they provide scholarships to budding collegiate esports players, and they provide aside from the scholarships, they also provide some programs to change that mindset that gaming might be something lucrative for the enthusiasts and the players as well. And yun nga, we want to create an industry here in Iloilo. Amo na gid na ang pinaka main goals ng ILO Esports. We want these players to have salaries man, for the enthusiasts and volunteers that we have right now to have a career, bisan hindi man sila gahampang, bisan sila man biang sa back end nga create content, hatag sang coaching or other stuff pang traditional sports have right now. So number one gid namon nga goal is to make the parents and the old school mindset be changed. And after that, once we accomplish that goal, then we'll definitely have more support from them, especially with the medal events in the SEA Games and Asian Games, where we have more bullets bala nga do damo pang ma-point nga this is not something para sa hampang-hampang lang. This is not something kanugod sa oras, but if they do well, they can be rewarded.
And especially with the government's recognition also as a legitimate sport, right? So those goals are not exactly far-fetched, when you come to think of it.
That's right. So actually, sang 2017, Games and Amusement Board considered esports as they recognize esports as a legitimate sport in the Philippines sang 2017. So pro esports players can now apply for professional athletic license. So may pwede na sila makonsider ganyan daw, what do you call this? Players, gani? Athletes, that's the right word.
So that, and then the regulation would be under the GAB, no?
That's right.
All right. Sige. Let's go to your organization's parang tagline na that you are a local government supported esports organization, no? So what kind of support exactly does the local government of Iloilo City give you, and what do you do with that support?
Aside from that, they provided us with resources for us to go about and conduct tournaments and events like our workshops. Definitely, ang pinakadako yun nga mahatag nila and makuha namon sa ila is the branding that the mayor and youth and sports office is very supportive in our efforts for us to be considered as legitimate activity here in Iloilo. Ang projects and initiatives namon is backed by them, so it adds a legitimacy sa amon ginobra. So the branding will definitely be something we can use to attract more sponsors, since yun nga, we're the only one worldwide. And if international or foreign brands want to penetrate the Iloilo market, they can do it through us. So more investments to Iloilo, and in return, we can use that we can use that sponsorships and investments to really grow pagid ang industry diri sa ang local esports industry diri sa Iloilo. So also through that, we're also planning to create an ILO Esports team for Mobile Legends, Wild Rift, and Valorant. And if there are local sponsors who will be supporting us, we can then bring local brand at a much higher level, national one or international level.
So it's essentially a two-way street for you and the local government, no, and the Iloilo community in general. So that's nice. That's really great. In light of the official recognition of the government being the esports being a legitimate sport now, and you mentioned earlier about esports athletes now able to or eligible to apply for athletic licenses, no? So what does esport do to facilitate the professionalization of local esports athletes?
So number one is after these tournaments, as I mentioned, we'll be creating the teams nga. So these teams will then get stipend and allowances from us, and we hope that to create our own headquarters as well here in Iloilo. And for this Ilonggo Esports athletes to champion the Ilonggo Esport brand outside Iloilo, to represent Iloilo and our products and services here. At least amo to nga mas makilala pag ng Iloilo nga ang Iloilo lang may amo ni. So we also plan to do some coaching and psychological nga support, and like amo na ginaobra subong sa sang mga top esports organization. They operate like traditional sports do. They have coaches, they have managers, they have psychological training. I mean psychological coaching as well para ang ilang players tip-top condition, not only in gaming but ang ilang attitude towards other aspects of life.
That's a good
and
point,
aside from that, we want them to perceive it as a profession, for them to be for them to be able to hopefully make it a career once we grow big, and for other aspiring Ilonggos to strive to become part of the organization as well.
That's good. So in relation to that, no, you mentioned about like growing or fostering an environment that would allow and enable esports athletes to be in tip-top shape. No? So to set also like to give our audience an idea, what is in esport, in your opinion, that makes it a sport, and what is in an esports player, competitive of course, that makes them an athlete?
So there's actually two takes on this. Which number one is, the first take is that esports is sports. So may ara na nga question, is chess a sport? So according to the International Olympics Committee, yes it is. Although wala ti physical nga aspect to it.
Yes.
And it's all about mental strategies and all of that. But alongside with that take is ang ato niya mismo nga GAB, the Games and Amusement Board, considers it as a sport. Medal event siya sa mga international events. And there's another take, which is esport is not a sport, and it's okay. It's its own bubble, and the esport community can thrive and survive on its own, and probably can even be a different niche, but bigger compared to the true traditional sports. Especially it's more of a spectator entertainment na sporting event with millions watching. Actually, with esporting events right now sa Mobile Legends, let's say na lang, the number of concurrent viewers increased tenfold lang this SEA Games. So from 200,000 maximum concurrent viewers last SEA Games, this year they got around 2.2 something million concurrent viewers. So it's a huge jump. And aside from the fact that these games can be easily viewed through different platforms, unlike these mga traditional games nga only the most watched, let's say, is basketball and football or volleyball. But there are sa esports naman, mayara gid yung mga community nga does not only closely follow it, but there's also huge engagement man. They buy the merch, they buy and support the brands that sponsors these players. And with regards man sa ilang athleticism, for major and bigger esports organizations right now, they have their own program for these players to not only sit in front of the computer or in front of their mobile phones to play all day, but they have these programs to make that they are holistic in their body and in their mind as well. And yeah, I think there's a difference between traditional sports and esports, and it's okay. But at the same time, ILO Esports want esports to be considered and be seen the same way as mainstream sports. So muna gina-push namon diri sa ILO for it to be respected and for it to be provided with the same level of acceptance and backing as sa aton yung mga traditional sporting events right now. And we're actually doing well man dira nga field, and we're aside from the aside sa outside support, sponsorships and support that we're having, the Youth and Sports Office, the mayor is very helpful sa amon. Kag ang aton mga local businesses, they like More Power actually have sponsored us as well sa amon yung mga previous yung mga activities.
I see. Okay. It's nice to know that many sectors in the local scene are already very supportive of esports, no, as an initiative and as a budding industry, no? So we're also curious kung ano nga mga paagi, in what ways can enthusiasts engage with the players or with tournaments, because you may also give us a little description of how tournaments happen. Like So, of course, in traditional contact sports, we pretty much know we know kung paano siya kakatabo, right? So, the players are in arena or in a court, and then the fans and the audience, the spectators would be around that, and then so there are several rounds of the games there are sets, there are quarters, etc. So, and then you will know immediately right away kung sino nagdaog or sino pierde. How about in esports? How do you roll sa mga tournaments nga na? Can you
Yeah.
give us a brief like parang situationer sa what happens during tournaments?
Yeah, so sa ILO Esports, what we do is we post on our ILO Esports page if may events kami. Like right now, we do weekly events. So we post on Monday that these are the requirements for you to participate in this week. So it's actually just filling out a Google form with players and their team names and then their logos. And during the week, we post this teams who will be participating for the weekly event. And on weekends, we then meet through our online platform, which is Discord. So everything and anything about the tournament will then be discussed through it. For example, with regards to sa matchups, we seed these teams in a single bracket elimination bracket for them to know which teams they will be against on the weekend that they will be competing. And once ara na sila, they just message the person the contact person sang kontra nila nga team sa Discord, and then they go on with their match. Then they update us kung sino nadaog, then we'll just move them through the brackets. And once everything is done, we then announce the winners in that weekly event. We also do live streams on the Facebook page every Sunday for our Mobile Legends Season 2 tournament. And actually iba ang sa ML namon kag iba man sa Wild Rift kag Valorant. So for ML, we have a point system. So we'll for 8 weeks there will be these 8 weeks, the first 8 weeks will be a qualifying week. So if makasulod ka mo sa top 8, ang inyong rank will be on the top 8, then you will then proceed to the playoffs, which will happen starting on June 19. And our grand finals will be on the Festive Walk Mall fountain area on June 26. For Wild Rift and Valorant, it's all online, but we did it's a hybrid actually sa Valorant, all online, but for Wild Rift we did a face-to-face last Sunday. And we have over 500 plus participants during that time. So very damo gid ang nag-attend and damo gid ang participate. And every week kung sinong maging champion, the top 4 teams from this weeks will then become the representative and play in the playoffs. And maging champion niyan sa quarter 2 tournaments namon will be scouted and become the players for ILO Esports.
All right. So the winning players ultimately, where do they go after that?
So once they win, aside from the cash prizes and the game credits that will be given to them, this third quarter of 2022 will be conducting what do you call this? Naman sila, mamit me sila, then we will tell them about our plans of making them the ILO Esports representatives. Basically, if there are events, national level and international level events, sila ang ipadala namon. So the launching of these teams will probably be on the later parts of the third quarter of 2022. And these players we will then create content around these players. We will then feature them on our Facebook page, and just like what Blacklist and other major esports organization does, and hindi lang focus sa gaming, will also focus on streaming their content and providing a platform for them for their voices to be heard and for esportsmen to grow with here in Iloilo, since these players who will represent Iloilo is sila man among gamiton nga faces of their organization.
Aside from the local government of Iloilo, do you have other sectors or other organizations or agencies chipping in? No, not necessarily financial, or it could be some form of effort for you to be able to push through with your goals.
We had sponsorships from More Power, so our local electric company here. We also had support from Uswag Party List, and outside Iloilo, we had Globe Telco, and for local brands, we have Loco, Monkey, White Monkey, and El Flaco. So aside from that, there are some local businesses who also showed support through providing us with what do you call this? Ano man yung gamay yung mga bulig. And with regards naman sa venue, Festive Walk Mall has been very helpful in providing a place for the players to meet face to face whenever we have a weekly event.
So how can interested people or organizations get involved in your activities? And is there any particular kind of organization or types of collaborators that you're looking for?
So right now, if they want to reach out to us and want to partner, they can message the page directly or through our email. Through our email, it's iloesports5000@gmail.com, since it's the zip code sa Iloilo.
Right.
And we don't actually have anything specific, since there are, like right now, there are a lot of brands, not necessarily tech, who's also supporting and are huge sponsors of esports, like Coke, MasterCard, and car brands are also jumping in the esports, since according to studies, those who support esports see more growth sa ilang brands, since the demographic are much younger, and once they see this brand supporting the games or the players that they like, then they ultimately associate this brand with the players, and it's mostly positive ang ilang approach, and that's what we hope for ILO Esports as well, since if brands want to become a top of the mind product or service here in Iloilo, we can definitely help them mas makilala pag ilang brand through esports man, kay active ang community namon. We have a lot of events ongoing, and we plan to do content creation man later this year.
And that's a typical move, no, for sports organizations, right? It's a common path for them, no, to get brands involved, to get organizations and other groups involved, no. So what we see that is unique with ILO Esports is that there's heavy involvement from the local government. Tama ba?
That's right.
Yeah. So let's I want to backtrack a little bit sa culture that the local esports community is in, no. So we're curious kung may mga players kamo, whether like ga-start pa lang or dugay na nga nag-play competitive esports nga, who got into trouble in whatever way because of their enthusiasm in esports, or their aggressive participation in the in this competitive field.
I don't recall any negative man nga Actually, when we did our live streams, there are mothers
Okay.
who comments nga, I don't know what's happening, but my son is this player, and
Okay.
they're very supportive, and they show their support through watching our streams and being engaged with our content. So I haven't heard man nga may ara gid nga
Like, do wala ging pasugtan, or like, wala nakasipot sa supposedly, sa supposed tournament nga intrahan niya, or for whatever reason. No?
Yeah, there are teams, usually since we do online and on-site registration, there are teams sometimes nga cannot come to the face-to-face events due to due to some unseen circumstances, but I actually don't recall gid nga may ara nga parent or guardian who's been very defiant of their kids or their loved ones. We actually even see these parents attending the face-to-face events and just provide the food, or they provide the things that these players need. And we actually even had one mother who came to us who told us that his son participated in Call of Duty Mobile and was one of the players who won 2 million pesos sa isa event sang it was, I think, international level event. His kid was from CPU, and he applauded what we're doing here, and hopefully we can conduct Call of Duty tournaments here in Iloilo as well. But overall, it's overwhelmingly positive man with regards sa support and sa ginapakita sa mga non-participants, kundi mga onlookers are very supportive. Medyo may mga kakatabo lang sa Facebook mo, like ang intensity of the games wherein ang ibang players tunog ang voices.
Okay.
So there are guards always roaming around when we do the face-to-face events, since ang emotions
are high too. Okay.
Players,
so it's really it really shows gihapon the competitive spirit present gid siya gihapon, no? All right. Sige. I think we've covered pretty much everything except maybe ano message mo as as the leader of ILO Esports to esports players in not only in Iloilo but also in Western Visayas, and to your organization's potential collaborators.
So Iloilo will definitely be the hotbed of esports. I cannot say when, but it definitely will. So esports, in fact, the whole industry is still in its infancy, and it still haven't reached the levels of mainstream sporting events, but it's going there. And the best is yet to come. Kung sa Tagalog pa, papunta pa lang tayo sa exciting part.
Yes, that's right. And then maybe you can mention about your future activities, and if you want to call for support from whatever sector you can. So what's in store for esports enthusiasts in Iloilo, coming from ILO Esports?
Yeah, so this quarter we'll have a content creation workshop. We'll probably announce it sometime next week sa Facebook page namon. And aside from that, there will always be tournaments for Mobile Legends, Wild Rift, and Valorant. We're planning to expand to other gaming titles later this year, but right now we'll focus on the games that have the most players here in Iloilo. And we'll be launching the ILO Esports teams by the next quarter as well. So these players will be representing Iloilo in esporting events here and outside the Philippines, hopefully. And if collaborators or brands, local or international or outside Iloilo, want to become part of this journey, they can just send us a message, email us, or message the ILO Esports page. And Yeah, ano na, we have things coming, and we want everyone to be part of it as well.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
So thank you very much, Jamar, for being with us today. And we know now that the esports community in Iloilo and perhaps in the whole region, they're in good hands, and they are they'll definitely be they definitely have a bright future ahead. So thank you very much, Liwat, for being with us and for sharing everything, for answering our questions, and for showing our audience na ILO Esports is here, and esports in Iloilo and Western Visayas is right here, right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for tuning in to Fyrside Chats. We are here at the Producto Local Hub co-working space on Halandoni Street, Haro, Iloilo City. Today's edition is powered by Mulave Studios, shaping ideas. Next chapter, capturing stories. And Dame Digital, marketing what matters. Engage with us in future editions. Follow our social media pages, FyrLab Accelerator on both Facebook and LinkedIn to check the next schedules. And we'll see you in the next chats.